Health, Human Services, and the Arts Committee will now begin. We're going to bring up the music school settlement, and then we'll go into, after that, to the Health Department. We'll do that with you, Dave. So we're going to do the other piece first. Let's bring up the music school settlement. Hey. This is your first time coming here to the table, is that correct? My third time. Third time? Fourth. Great. So, let everyone introduce themselves because we have a new team here. So we'll start moving up. Start from you, Shaw.
Yes. Hired musician.
Nah, you gotta keep playing.
I play at home every single day.
My high school garage band, but that's, I don't know if
Oh,
that
man,
counts
I
as
didn't
retired
know
or not.
Bass player, right?
They are
Our
out
new
there,
ba-
that's right.
He's our new bass player.
You do?
Well, yeah, it's
Get out.
the easiest instrument. I signed up for.
Oh yeah, the
right one.
135.
I could do it.
Yeah. Councilwoman. I would want to get some. Terms here. And so that way you could look back and you'll show your children that. Matter of fact, I grew up in the music school. Settlement, not only did they teach music, they would teach character. Curiosity is a great character, so we learned a lot of that. And the music school settlement sits on Magnolia Drive, however, is connected to the Glenville community. Walk in the Huff area, the whole 9 yards. So many back then garages and the basements. Argument why Cleveland. And a lot of us learned and we studied with you guys at the music school. Every single street streets and to give us something to look forward to. Guys, you probably never thought about it. You're in that paradigm when you deal with the director. Were you able to hear me? I thought I was talking loud enough. Oh, okay. Yeah, so you need to turn it on so when I turn away. So, Director?
Well, thank you. Good morning again, and thank you, Councilman Conwell. First of all, I love that tie, and maybe I'd like to wear it with the keyboard. I'm a pianist. And it's great to be here because we've got several alums, early childhood, in this room, so I know some of you are familiar with us. First of all, I just want to thank you for your past support. You have supported our kids in camps for several years in the summers. You've supported our creative aging program, Music for Life program, which is fairly new and important with the aging population in our country. And you've really impacted thousands of lives probably already. And also, I just want to thank you for the work that you do. You are public servants. I know your jobs are really, really hard. You've got some of you have large awards now. Your emails blow up every day, your phones. And so we just want to thank you, we know, for your work in the community and in all of your constituents that we serve. So again, you are familiar with us, but I'm going to give a real quick 1 minute, just 50,000 refresh to you all. We're 114 years old. It's amazing. We've survived 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the Great Recession, a little pandemic. We're still here, and we are thriving. No, we started out downtown, and it wasn't until the mid-'30s that we ended up in University Circle. So they had a couple other locations. And you talked about Dick Kaufman, who had this really well-known and I think this is what you were referencing, Teens in Training program. And maybe you were one of them, took teenagers to mentor and coach other inner city kids. We have heard from some of these kids, they've become music teachers in their lives, and it's just very cool. And then we were Harvard East, and we were Rainey at one point. We were Rainey School. But now, yeah. So we were founded, and this is what I'm really proud of, is a community music school settlement house. And it was for immigrants. It was during the settlement area when the immigrants were coming from Europe. So many of our first students were immigrants. The mission has always remained the same forever. And the key thing here is accessibility. We welcome everyone, every age. We have babies from 3 weeks old to people in their 90s, end of life in music therapy. We have all abilities. Some people think they can't even do music, and they find out they can, and all backgrounds. And we do this work in 3 centers. We have the Center for Music, which Jeff Brown represents, leads, and he'll be talking about that. And we have the Center for Music Therapy. I was a music therapist for 5 years before I went on to my legal career. I'm still a music therapist at heart, but using music to heal. And then we also have our early childhood program, which is very well known. Some of you are graduates. This is 70 years old. We celebrated 70 years last year. It's an arts-infused art, music, dance, drama, and science. It's one of the top preschools in the state, and we also offer kindergarten now. And then our Bop Stop, which many of you know. Have you played at the Bop Stop, Councilman? Okay, let's talk. Although you said you're retired, we'll get you back out there. But the Bop Stop, which is a premier award-winning jazz and blues gift to us in 2014. And it's a nonprofit. It is not a for-profit, it's an arm of us. But it supports our mission. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, that's right.
And maybe you've been there. We do this work on 2 campuses. So University Circle right now since the mid-'30s, as I mentioned, and then we built and opened up our Ohio City campus in 2018. We did end up closing it for a year during COVID, which was a tough time. But we are up and running again there, and all of our centers do work there, and of course the Bop Stop's 2 blocks away. But we work all over Northeast Ohio, and we serve many of your constituents. So just to give you a real quick depth and breadth of the work, because sometimes people know the early childhood, and they're not aware we do music therapy or that we own the Bop Stop. So Jeff, would you give some of the statistics?
Sure,
of the
sure.
depth and breadth.
So in fiscal year 25, just to give you an overview of the community that we serve, we had 1,200 on-site music education and music therapy clients over the course of the year. 51% are from historically underrepresented communities. Of our music therapy clients, 90% had a confirmed health diagnosis or disability. So very important work with our music therapy clients. We have partnerships and contracts with other nonprofit organizations throughout the city, over 20 in the last fiscal year, that serve 1,600 students off-site through our various programs. In our early childhood center last year, we had 250 kindergarten students, preschoolers, and summer campers. Our Bop Stop, which was just mentioned a minute ago, served over 13,000 audience members over the course of the year. It's an astounding number of events. They gave 255 concerts over the course. If you weren't aware, Bop Stop also has a broadcast that is broadcast live on over 75 radio stations nationally and internationally. So really broad scope of people that we serve there. 44% of all students and clients at the Music Settlement received some sort of financial aid last year. In total, we offered over $500,000 in financial aid allocated to our students and clients. Finally, with our free community events, we served over 3,700 community members at events, performances, master classes, and other community engagement events.
Bop Stop.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It was built specifically.
Arts.
Oh, yes. Right. And the important thing is it's local. I mean, we present local artists as well as national and international. And students perform there. We do work with Oberlin, so we hold fundraisers there for other organizations. It's well utilized and very, very treasured by that community. Is he trying to get on stage at the Bop Stop?
I wouldn't mind picking it there. That's the I have a gig there.
Okay,
I go there
we'll talk. Importantly, though, so we are part of this wonderful fabric of arts and cultural and music organizations in Cleveland. We're so fortunate. And here we are located in University Circle with the Cleveland Orchestra down the street and the Cleveland Institute of Music around and Art Museum and all of that. But it's really important that we distinguish ourselves from these other wonderful organizations and that we're really grassroots, boots on the ground. I mean, this is where a lot of people start that end up at those places. And in the aggregate, no one does what we do. If we were to go out of business next month, no one would be filling our shoes and giving you the statistics that Jeff has. And we distinguish ourselves in several ways, and one is what we really emphasize is the accessibility. No barriers to entry, everybody is welcome. And we do this by, as Jeff referenced, the very generous financial aid. We give financial aid, financial hardship, and merit scholarships. The other thing, we do some free programming. So the last couple of years, we've been at the Cleveland Metropolitan Housing District behind our Ohio City building, going up there to give lessons and to create trust and relationships within the community. We also do STEAM and STEM programs, which are wonderful. A lot of Saturdays, Karen's got that starting up again, free to the community, and there'll be.
Hear me? Okay, cool. All right.
Our STEAM and STEM programs sometimes have between 80 and 200 community members attending, and those are free as well. So the accessibility. The second thing is there's no prescribed lessons or classes. Everything is custom designed. I mean, so we try to meet the evolving needs of the community and the interests of the community. So when Jeff's faculty goes out into the school systems, CMSD, private schools, everywhere else, they may want African drumming. They may want songwriting, guitar groups, strings, brass, whatever, rock and pop. So his faculty goes, and there's something for everyone. There is a program for everyone. And even if you're not a musician and you say you have no ability, you can go to the Bop Stop and listen. Or he has a series of, we had a Disney series about Disney movies, and we had the creative aging folks attending that. The third thing is that we work in partnerships, and I learned this in my real estate legal career at Forest City. Partnerships are really important. Working and aligning with other organizations, similar values, similar mission, because then we have a greater impact on people. So as he referenced, our music therapists are in social service agencies, hospitals, schools, nursing homes, and Jeff will talk about some of the places that the Center for Music is in as well. And lastly, again, this is what I'm most proud of, and it's what you all do too. We are here for the community. We are here to serve all members of our community, and again, meeting their needs and interests, which are constantly evolving. So again, and Jeff will reference this, as you all know, with the financial issues that CMSD schools are having right now. They often cut their arts programs. So, yeah. So, and there's important needs. With aging population, the orchestra needs those young people learning about music and becoming future audiences. There's just so much a need, and I just believe that music education is a right. It's just not a privilege. And Councilman Conwell, I quote you a lot, and we have just done a campaign video, and Councilman Conwell was a part of this. And I quote you a lot when you say, put instruments in these kids' hands, not guns. So we were part of that program too with the Rock Hall and the orchestra sending instruments into the CMSD schools for kids. So we're here today to talk about a project. So we have run out of space in our University Circle campus, and our beautiful 1910 mansion that has 42 rooms doesn't have acoustics. It's just not a good building for music lessons. It wasn't built for that. So we embarked upon a project 2 years ago. We are rehabbing a 1912 home on our campus. It's called the Grease House. It went through many lives. It was a plastic surgery hospital, it was a nursing home, and then most recently we had done Suzuki lessons and piano lessons, but it became in very bad disrepair and I closed it during COVID, so we lost that space. So we've embarked on this project, and Jeff, you want to talk about it just a bit?
So I will start by giving a very brief overview of the types of programs that we offer in the Center for Music. As Jerry mentioned, since we are a community-focused school, there are several things that make us distinct from other music schools like the because we are there to serve the interests of the community, we offer a very broad array of programs so that we can offer something for every interest in the community. We have over 60 part-time faculty with expertise across every instrument and musical style. So we offer lessons on every instrument and voice, but important to note that it's not just classical, which is a lot of people's first entry. We also offer rock lessons, pop, folk, chamber music, groups of all types. So we really want to make sure that we are evolving with the interests of the community. Interests and education changes over so we've done a very good job, I think, of evolving to reflect the community. Beyond lessons, we offer a variety of ensembles and group classes, everything from orchestras to a rock and pop band, an immersive jazz ensemble, and workshops and lectures. So very diverse array. We have a few immersive programs. Our jazz program is a half-day program on Saturday where young students come and spend from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Studying ensembles, jazz theory. As Jerry mentioned, it's also a really character-building experience. These students work very hard at what they do. We are partner with the Berkeley City Music Network. So we have an endorsement and our missions align to make sure that jazz education is accessible for young people in the community. We also have the largest Suzuki program in Northeast Ohio, serving over 250 students. Suzuki is a unique form of music education in which students learn music like they learn a language. It's immersive, it's rote learning. It's not learning to read music as the first step, but really engaging through listening skills and builds great memory. It also involves the parents as part of the education. So they are sitting in the lessons, they are working with the students at home during their practice. So it's a very collaborative approach to education. And another of our unique programs
Question,
Yeah,
go
sure.
back with I'm very interested in the parenting piece.
Yeah, so Suzuki was an educator in Japan that had the concept of teaching music like the mother tongue was his term. So we don't consciously make an effort to learn a language when we're developing as babies and children. You're immersed in this environment and it gradually develops. So he thought that the language of music could be learned exactly the same way. That instead of sitting down and learning what the 5 lines and spaces on a staff mean and what all these notes are, that we teach the language of music completely through listening. So he gave the image of a 3-legged stool in which the teacher, the child, and the parents are all equally involved in the educational process. So parents will sit in lessons and take notes, and they will be at home in the practice sessions every day with the students to reinforce what they learned. But it's a lot of listening rather than note reading in the early stages.
That engaged parenting is very, very important. You know, you keep the family together with engaged parenting, and
And the children can start at as young as age 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4.
And it reinforces, I mean, I'm a pianist. I started when I was 4 years old. Throughout most traditional learning experiences, you have 30 or 60 minutes with an instructor once a week, but the majority of your 30 to 40 hours of practice over the course of the week are completely by yourself. So involving the parent at home to reinforce that helps accelerate the learning process.
how many children? Because I'm looking at engaged parenting. You need that in the school system. Engaged parenting is very, very important to have that father figure or mothers and families together, and you can do it through the arts as well.
Jeff, would we have, though, 200 students? Quite a number of students, too.
Over the course of the year, we have a full year program and summer lessons and a summer camp. But in that program, we have over 250 students per year. All in all, in the Center for Music, we have about 1,100 that we serve.
But the great thing, too, is these kids, many of them begin when they're 4, and they continue till they're in high school. So then they've also formed lifelong friends. I mean, and the families are close. It's community building.
You know, that could help us with engaged parenting. We're always trying to find a way to get, as I mentioned earlier, the mother and the child and the fathers and families together. And then when they go to school, it's transferable with mathematics, writing, reading, the whole 9 yards. And you can do it with the arts or doing a project together with the family together and engage in promoting engaged parenting. And I mean a lot, because even when I talk with you, we always get to the parenting part.
Absolutely. It's very important.
Because I want to take a look at that. I
Yeah.
definitely want to
No,
take a
we
look
can
at that.
talk more. One other program that I don't want to neglect is our creative aging program. We are all aware that there's a growing need for engagement for our lifelong learners, our senior citizens, as that segment of the population grows. And so we have a robust offerings for older adults and intergenerational ensembles. So that includes an adult orchestra, a choir, more passive experiences for those that don't play an instrument, like lecture series and other ways to engage with music, but also to engage with fellow community members. There are many benefits of offering these types of engagements with the arts for senior citizens that combats depression, loneliness, isolation, and continues to engage people, strengthen their cognitive skills late in life.
Councilman Conwell knows we started a steel drum group.
Yeah, I want to do that steel drum piece.
And that was pretty much had waiting lists as we brought adults in that had never played music even or whatever and teaching them steel drums. It's a blast.
So that just gives you an overview before I dive into the capital project. We mentioned already the financial aid that we
Can I
give.
ask a
Yeah,
question?
sure.
Sure.
Last year, you guys put in funding for the senior, and that's therapeutic for them. And I don't know how that turned out, and we'll get to it later, but I want to fund it again, and I want you to have relationships with Mary McInerney.
Right.
You know, we do a
worked with
senior
her.
day, right, and have some seniors, because she has some seniors, they play piano, trumpet, drums, whatever the case may be, and then they can visit senior citizen homes or whatever the case, and push goodwill with the city, with the seniors playing, and that's just my vision for that. And we have the senior day. It would be great to have you guys play there.
Somebody from her office visited with us, and they did tell us about that, a couple people. So thank you for reminding us.
Because some of the seniors might want to join the, we do senior walks, and Mary McInerney is great. She's fantastic.
Yes.
with seniors, but to get them engaged, as you mentioned earlier, because some of them are lonely, and while they're at home, you give them a reason to practice their instruments. So I'm very interested in that.
So, and all of our seniors are eligible for discounted. Accessibility is really the heart of our mission, and so just wanted to offer just a little bit more detail on how that's approached to make music affordable for students. So we offer a variety of merit scholarships, which students of all ages can earn through an audition, but we also offer robust financial aid and hardship assistance. We collect similar information to a FAFSA form with basic financial information from a family, and then they're eligible for discounts. We base our discounts on the federal poverty guidelines, so a student registering for music lessons could receive up to a 90% discount, which is substantial. All seniors receive a discount for lessons as well. So we really try to remove as many financial barriers as possible.
I'm going to introduce you to Joan Mazzoline, and we could put it in our newsletters for the seniors. I mean, she just did a postcard for me, and Joan doesn't know that with Arts-Inspired Learning, a lot of residents and a lot of seniors reached out to my office as well as to Arts-Inspired Learning because they want to do something with the arts and to deal with loneliness and the whole 9 yards. I'm very interested in that, as well as the steel drums, because, I play steel drums also. We could do some Jamaican music or some music from Trinidad, whatever the case may be, and I want to be a part of that as well. So I'm there.
So finally, our capital project now, the house that Jerry mentioned earlier was previously used for lessons and classes, so we experienced a reduction in instructional spaces when that was closed, and now we are really at capacity and even using spaces on our campus that are not designed to be instructional spaces. So there are several facility limitations with our current situation, and this project will greatly enhance that. The vision behind this, there are really three main pillars. This is going to be a state-of-the-art facility so that even though we're making music accessible to everyone at a low cost, it's not low quality. We want them to have the access to the finest educational spaces possible. The community engagement aspect is significant in this. We will have, it will increase our ability to offer more programs. We will also have a community space, an outdoor music patio that as we expand our footprint in University Circle, we'll also offer more free opportunities and musical performances for the community. And the last pillar is a state-of-the-art technology lab that's going to expand how we serve our students as we're moving through a really rapidly changing time where technology and artificial intelligence intersects with what we do as musicians. And so that would offer students the stepping stones for everything from basic sound editing, and software that people use to edit film scoring, video game music, which is a rapidly growing opportunity in the arts, as well as our jazz students through the Berkeley City Music Network.
Joan, your group played with me at Wednesday some years ago.
Jazz.
The jazz group. I would love for you guys to play with our band again because, that's how children, they'll get the exposure, and then we can push it. So whenever we play, maybe in June or July, because at least 10,000 folks is there, and we'll put them up front.
I want to add too, this project is a must-have. It's not just a nice thing to do. And as we've told the board, if you're not growing and you're not innovating, then you're not sustainable. You just can't last. So in order to be around for decades more, this is what we're doing right now.
There's a lot of information in this folder that you can peruse later, but we want to draw your attention to a packet. It's on the left, in the left folder, and it starts with a photo. This will give you an overview as I'm explaining the facility. The full page, it's towards the back on the left side. So in this photo, you can see the existing house, which is in red brick. It will be completely transformed, both on the outside and inside, to make it more suitable for music education. And the architects have done a great job of merging retaining the historic aspect of the existing home, and then adding on to that through a substantial addition that they're not trying to match, because it would be impossible, but to make it complementary. So the more modern part that you see in the dark brick is going to be the new addition. So overall, this will expand our instructional spaces on the University Circle campus by 50%. So we will go from 28 teaching spaces to 42. In this building, there are 14 instructional spaces overall, 8 in the existing house and 6 in the new space. What we have found through careful study and conversations with the acousticians is that the addition, which is the more modern part, because it is new construction, will have the highest level of acoustic separation possible. So that will be where we put our loudest things: percussion, jazz, rock and pop. So those 6 rooms will be ideal spaces, and we have nothing like that on our campus right now. Make the most with what we have, but our jazz ensemble is squeezed into a small room that you can hear all over the building. So that will not be the case in this building. A couple of other unique aspects in here: the technology lab that I mentioned will have 8 keyboards, computers, digital audio workstations, so that and have the building blocks to programs like Tri-C. We've been in discussions with even offering some classes where students could earn credit at Tri-C that could be applied towards a future degree. So
That's good. That's
yeah,
good.
so we're really looking at every opportunity for those pathways for students. And then you have the floor plans in here as well. I would just point out that each space in this is thoughtfully designed with the architects. They have gone through extensive discussions with us of how each room will be used. There is a dedicated percussion studio, harp studio, technology lab, so that each room is really custom designed for what's going to be in there. So that gives you an overview. A last thing that I wanted to mention about this project, the technology lab is going to offer open access to our community members. Whether or not they are enrolled in a program at the Music Settlement, they will have an opportunity under basic supervision and training to come in and have access to computers and music software that they would not otherwise have, similar to programs that have been started in a lot of public libraries as well. So it's another way that we want to reach out to the community members surrounding us.
Jeff, and then just to give you the important information, so we started a capital campaign a couple years ago. I have got a really talented, wonderful team of consultants, a capital campaign consultant, and then the architects on this project. And we are very fortunate, are both musicians, and actually one of them also had his daughter in our early childhood program, the percussionist. John Williams is a guitarist. He's also an artist and architect. He was an Arts Prize winner. He designed the Heinens building downtown, did the Transformer Station, many other, so they're very familiar with rehab and adaptive reuse. And then we've got Peter Bohan from Prospectus, also a very outstanding, and they're working together on this project. We are working with Maroos Brothers Construction, so we've, again, want to limit liability and contain it, so they are construction managers at risk, and then we're now waiting for the final guaranteed maximum price contract, so it's not an open checkbook for them. We are excited to tell you that we've gone before Landmarks Commission a couple times, the commission for which we need approval, and they have approved the project that Jeff has shown you, and we are now going after the permitting process. The construction documents will be done by the end of the month, so we're pretty far along. And a shovel's supposed to go into the ground April or May in 26. It'll be 13 months. We hope to open in the fall of 27. The really great news is this is about a $12 million project, and to date, 5 months before we're even going to set the shovel in the ground, we've raised over $10.1 million. So we are on the end run of this, potentially hoping to receive new market tax credits of $1.6 million, but we're not sure how that's going to go with the Treasury and the federal government at the moment.
If you need help with anything, you have to tell us.
Okay, well, this is what we want you to know, and this is the other good thing is Mandel Foundation had been giving us general operating funds for many years. We presented the project to Mayor Michael White and their other leadership, Steve Hoffman and Dr. Reinhardt, and they are so enthusiastic and excited about this. They have given us $3.3 million, and they are naming this building. So it'll be the Jack, Joseph, and Morton Mandel Music House, the Mandel Music House. So we are really thrilled. Just with the alignment, again, it's huge, with the alignment of the values and the mission and, again, the serving the community. So our goal here, again, is just to get in these last dollars so that we can finish this and get to the budget. And then what I'd like to do, of course, is Jeff and I like to increase financial aid so that we can take more students, adults, children, everybody in from the surrounding communities, and that they will have the opportunity to participate in our programs and services. And one last thing I want to add is a very important piece of this, especially for the Mandel Foundation, was community engagement. So we have just hired an outstanding young woman, Jeff is going to be announcing this week, to be our community engagement manager. We are out in the community. We're trying to promote the visibility because even though we're 114 years old, not everybody's aware of us. But this young woman will be in the community, going into the schools, going into the libraries, going into the churches, and just spreading the word. So,
All the key stakeholders.
Yes.
So are we helping out at all in the city of Cleveland with your Capital campaign?
no, not yet.
Yeah, what I'll do is
Thank you.
introduce you, and I'll set a meeting up, and I'll see what the city can do, about, because it's a treasure, and never asked me for the city help. Good when your city honors you and your work. It makes it easier for you to talk with other key stakeholders and help out with the Capital campaign.
And it's important that you all know, too, that we're here to serve your constituents as well and what there is available for them. So thank you. Thanks for your time today. And congratulations to all the new members. We're excited to meet
question.
you.
We have questions.
I just had a quick question.
John?
I appreciate your time and thorough explanation of what you do. I didn't know about this, so I really appreciate that. I saw in the notes here 44% of students receive financial help. What is the average cost for students that do not receive financial help?
So because we have a wide variety of programs, tuition is set differently. So I can give you a few examples. So for somebody that's registering for private lessons, the full price is $35 for a 30-minute lesson, and it's 36 weeks over the course of the year, and the $70 for a full hour lesson. So classes, the program is set based on contact hours. So a summer camp could be $200, whereas a full year orchestra is about $1,100. So it's really custom set based on the instructional costs and the contact hours for each program.
But could you give the example you usually do if the full cost, and then if they receive financial aid, and then if they receive scholarship? I mean, it can get really decreased.
For example, if somebody is taking a full hour private lesson that would normally be $70, they could, if they're eligible for financial aid and merit scholarship, they could receive up to a 90% discount. So that $70 lesson would only cost $7 per hour. And so makes it extremely affordable for the family. Early childhood is a full day preschool or kindergarten, and so that's a much higher tuition, and I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. So it's really based on the contact hours and the length of the program. Some programs are only a couple of weeks in the summer. Some are semester, 18 weeks for a half year, and some are full year. So it varies based on that.
And sometimes we get foundation funding, so the students, say in a chamber group, will get tuition free because it's paid for.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we do offer some programs that are completely free for those that can't afford anything for lessons. So we offer a free guitar class for students from the community to come in. We give them a guitar. We teach them lessons for a semester. There's no charge for the instrument or the lessons. They keep the guitar at the end, and hopefully that sparks something for them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilman, you could, when we bring neighborhood, as well as we put it in our newsletters, so that the children champion it. That's what I'm trying to say. A lot of different resources. Rec center that's in your
I have Kudell and Halloran.
put it right there as well.
Yeah, we always appreciate that help because most of our advertising is online, digital advertising, but we know that doesn't reach everyone. So one of the charges of our community engagement manager is going to be distributing materials throughout a wide variety of venues. So, yeah.
One more shameless plug. We have an outstanding annual MLK concert this Sunday at 3 o'clock. Evelyn Wright, jazz singer, is singing. Tamar Gray, who's on our faculty, jazz singer, elementary school teacher, many wonderful. Obie Shelton, violinist, will be playing. We shall, yeah. It's going to be a great program, free. So if you're free this Sunday at 3, please come down to the University Circle. Thank you. Thanks for your attention.
Because I try to sneak in practicing as much as possible. So sometimes when you have events, I'm at home just, practicing.
Right in the neighborhood. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Great.
Thank you.
Thanks for your
What I'm
time.
going to do, you can have a seat over there real quick. I'm going to call up David Margolius, and while they are narrating, I'm going to let you sit right here.
Okay.
And while they're narrating what we're here for, I'll be right back in real quick. That way you get a good, you're going to fire.
Grateful, sir.
Now, I'm going to have you, Councilman Austin, chairing a lot. That way, because, get you in here for that.
I appreciate that.
All right?
You got stuff to do.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
One more over here for Councilwoman House Jones.
House Jones visited the music school settlement, and she plays the harp, and she visited the music school settlement with me. How long ago was that, council lady? Maybe 3 years ago?
4 years ago.
So she is a musician, so she knows the way.
It doesn't work.
Thank you for joining us here tonight, Director. This morning, Director and Commissioner. Do you want to start us off, Director?
Through the chair, thank you, Council 2026. I'm really happy to see you all. My name is Director Dave Margolius, and I'm going to introduce Commissioner of Health Equity and Social Justice, Commissioner Lita Wills. She's going to give a presentation. I'm going to step in the back so that she can rightfully be the star of the show with her team. And with that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Lita Wills. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Margolius. Good morning, Council. Happy New Year. Welcome to folks who are in their new seats and also some new committee members. This is thankfully not my first rodeo in front of the Health and Human Services and Arts Committee. I wanted to basically, we kind of do this once a year, come by and give a nice update of the work of the Health Equity and Social Justice Division, which is part of the Cleveland Department of Public Health, but also has initiatives that stretch across city departments and also working within the community. I wanted to make sure that before I get started that I thank my team. Many of them are here today. Our core team, which is Lydia Hill, project coordinator, Brett Grossell, admin, and newly, since the summer, is Michelle Wilcox, who is our policy analyst, and she came to us from a long career at Neighborhood Family Practice, and we're very happy to have her. Also, if you'll remember, within our purview at the health department, we have several programs. Our HIV program team, I would like to thank them as well. Our Moms First team, our Office of Mental Health and Addiction Recovery, as well as our Office of Minority Health. So I do have some slides for you. I will go over them very briefly. Some of them serve as just a little bit of background for some of the newer folks. So we'll zoom through those. You can have them. I believe Inez and Ibukun have them. I also provided a short handout with some accomplishments for the last year so that you have them. Okay. This is just a little bit of context for the resolutions and ordinances that stood up this division. We were founded after the city and Cleveland City Council as a whole adopted the resolution stating that racism is a public health crisis. And beyond that, worked with former Mayor Frank Jackson to stand up the Division of Health Equity and Social Justice within the Cleveland Public Health Department to begin to look at these issues, understand health disparities, and figure out what are the things that the city can do to improve the gaps that we see when it comes to health outcomes that are based in race. Some of the work that we do was pulled from those previous steps, but also I reference in building the work, the transition report in 2022, equity and action recommendations that appeared in Mayor Bibb's transition report in January when that admin first got started. We also work closely with the Office of Equal Opportunity, which is directed by Tyson Mitchell, and we also have that declaration by council authorized the creation of Racism as a Public Health Crisis Working Group, which is now a coalition, and several members of the council body serve on that coalition as well. All of the work is aligned with social determinants of health. When we talk about equity, when we talk about racial equity, using social determinants of health as a way to measure the equity work is a really, really good way to define what these outcomes are, what the disparities are, and then how do we go about addressing them. So if you look at all of these categories in terms of when we are talking about health overall, we're not just talking about your physical body. We're talking about our education, access, and quality. We're talking about health care and quality of that health care, the neighborhood and built environment, such as housing, transportation. We are talking about social and community context. So we're talking about anything ranging from returning citizens to the care and treatment of our children in the foster care system, to how we are able to maintain quality of life for senior citizens. Those types of things fall under social and community context. And then, of course, economic stability, and I would add to that mobility. Those are the things that help us determine whether or not we are healthy or not healthy. Just so that you're continuing to be aware of the buckets of work that the Division of Health Equity and Social Justice operates within. Within CDPH, as I mentioned, we have 4 programs that have been part of the Cleveland Department of Public Health and the City of Cleveland for decades. They were previously in our health division, which is Health Equity and Social Justice is separated out from that, just to give a little bit more focus on the equity issues at play there and to make sure that we're giving some more support to areas where we see greater health disparities, especially for our brown and black community members. So those programs are HIV, Minority Health, Moms First, which is a federally funded Healthy Start program, but also City of Cleveland provides a great amount of funding to that program as well. And OMAR is our Office of Mental Health and Addiction Recovery, which is currently very focused on opioid response. Within the City of Cleveland, as we stood up the division to look at equity across the city, we stood up 2 bodies, which is the Interdepartmental Equity Team, which I'll go into some more detail about here shortly, as well as we have a strategic plan, which we're kind of in the middle of for that body. We are operating now using a health and equity assessment that I will briefly go over, but you also have access to that. And then we have an equity advisory board, which if you want to think about the differences in the work, the interdepartmental equity team is really looking at in what ways across the city government, every department from water, public safety, development, public health, aging, all of those, everyone really, how do we impact the social determinants of health for our residents? So thinking about connecting dots between the work that we do every day, policy, practice, procedure, services that we provide to the community, how are we impacting either well or negatively the health and outcomes of community members. The Equity Advisory Board is more of a body that we, in partnership with Director Mitchell at Office of Equal Opportunity, we compose and put together to take a look at across city departments, where is equity happening? Where is work on racial equity happening? Where is work on economic equity happening? It's not to say that if you look at the City of Cleveland government, look at City of Cleveland website, previously you would not have seen a web page or a department or a director of diversity, equity, and inclusion or anything like that. It doesn't mean that work wasn't happening. That work has been integrated into all of our work for a number of years. And so what we did was we found those places where there were diversity initiatives, where there already were equity initiatives, where there was inclusion happening, and put them underneath one umbrella, invited the folks who were leading up that work. In many cases, it's some directors and some frontline staff, but to form an equity advisory group that basically was able to, within that equity inventory of the whole city and all of the work that we're doing, where are we improving equity for residents and in the work that we do, formed a committee to be able to come together on a regular basis to look at what are the things that we still need when it comes to being equitable for our employees in this environment, when it comes to being equitable towards our community and residents, when it comes to being equitable in our physical spaces and our infrastructure, right? And so that group has come together with some recommendations, and now we're at the point where we are monitoring those recommendations and checking off progress and then making more recommendations for what needs to happen next. And then within the community, as I mentioned, that first declaration spawned the Racism as a Public Health Crisis Coalition. That coalition work is still happening. My office serves as a conduit between the mayor's office and that body. So we do a lot of close work with them. They're moving into their next phase, which is more implementation of the recommendations that they made last year, which we had the opportunity to update Chair Conwell on the progress of that group a few weeks ago. And you'll hear more about that as they launch what they're going to be doing for 2026. But it is a public-private partnership, and there are several community members, community organizations. It is currently chaired by Marsha Maccabee at Urban League, as well as Helen Forbes Fields at, help me, thank you, YWCA. Yeah, I just blanked. All right, it happens. Just so that you have this is what our division looks like. We're fairly small in terms of who works with us. We have our teams for each of the programs, and then our core team behind me here. We're small but mighty. Many of our projects are grant supported, so you may not see that show up in the general fund budget discussions, but they are there. We do make sure that we report out regularly what the progress of those initiatives are in terms of how many moms and babies and families that we help, how many people get screened for drug and alcohol treatment, how many people get HIV tested a year, that type of thing. So we do keep those stats pretty regularly and report them out. Just a little deep dive. Again, you can have these slides, but it's just tells you who we work with within these programs, where our funding comes from, and what we're ultimately responsible for. Moving on to the equity initiatives, which I believe was the thrust of what Councilman Conwell wanted to talk about today. So over the last year, I want to say this, we've got a little bit stalled when we had the cyber incident at City of Cleveland, but after that, we're able to get the information around all of the equity initiatives up on the website, so you can freely go there and find the interdepartmental equity team, which is the team that's concerned with improving how we impact social determinants of health as a city. You can find links to documents and information there, as well as for the Racism as a Public Health Crisis Coalition, as well as for the Equity Advisory Group, looking internally and externally at how we are promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as more equitable access. So that is all there for you to have in your hands. The Interdepartmental Equity Team, or the IET as we call it, just a little bit of background. This was its first equity strategic plan that the City of Cleveland has put out in terms of being able to combine all the departments. And that gives you a little bit of a timeline. Again, while we had the declaration in June of 2020, at that time in the country, many cities made similar declarations. Corporations were making similar Nike made a declaration, Coke made right? But for us, and as a city, this meant the start, not even the start, it had begun well before that, the folks who were supporting that declaration were working on it well before that happened. It just, that was a catalyst. And I think we can go back in terms of gathering the bodies who were in support of it together back to November of 2019, when our Office of Minority Health supported the 400 Years of Inequity Cleveland Summit, really deep diving into things like redlining and how that affected the makeup of our neighborhoods, but also the very fabric of our communities. So this just gives you a little bit of background from where we were to where we are now. That work group is intact. We do have members from every department. We are this year going to be onboarding some new members as things ebb and flow. Things, people need to either roll off of committees and do different work, as you're well aware, or your time doesn't allow. So we're going to be onboarding some new folks into that process as well. And I'll get into what we're working on now. You can find online the full strategic plan, looking at the different health outcomes that we're tracking that tell us about the relative social determinants of health of Cleveland, how we're doing with regard to housing affordability, how are we doing with regard to availability of transportation, how are we doing with regard to our clean air, like how are we doing with regard to unemployment rate and jobs. All of these things make a difference to how our health and well-being and our outcomes are. So those are the four categories that our indicators are in, that the work that we do all falls in. We kind of separate out into, is this a built environment and neighborhood issue? Is this an economic mobility and stability issue? Is this about health and public health? Or is this more a safety and community support question? To that end, what we did next was establish the health and equity assessments. And so basically what that means is we're able to take a look at any program, any policy, any practice, any procedure. It can be utilized as a tool to examine current programs or practices, procedures, or new programs, practices, and procedures. Ultimately, we've talked about this as an example. A way that City Council might be able to use this is to say that if you're contracting with the City of Cleveland, you have to do this health and equity assessment as part of your application package. If you're getting a grant, or if you're going to be contracted to do business with the City of Cleveland, we use it. We've been using it internally for about a year just to really examine, are we having equity gaps or negative health impacts by some of the programming that we do, or some of the initiatives that we put up, really examining things to say that we started this project to do something good, but we're noticing either not everybody has access to it or is able to participate in it. How do we change that? Or we're seeing that we might have a negative impact that has been happening that we didn't intend. How are we going to fix it? And by no means does doing an assessment mean that you have to cancel a program or get rid of something or tell someone they can't do that particular initiative. It's about having the conversation to say, how can we do it better? So that tool is available on the website as well. It is based on the toolkit from the Network for Public Health Law, and we consulted with them a lot as we adapted it. We're the first city to adapt it to be able to use it on policy as well, to be able to examine the effects of policy. It was adapted with their support. It's a very simple, accessible framework that guides us to assess potential health and equity implications. Again, it's a fillable PDF form with 6 steps to it that our teams help to. The interdepartmental equity team helps to guide the person through. I'll get to kind of where we are with those. We've done. I think we have either 8 that are either finished or in progress. I think there are 2, one that's yet to start and one that's in progress at the moment. Again, can be used for new or existing programs, policies, or procedures. It's also really nice, I would say, for if I was a funder in philanthropy, or I would use this if I were applying for grants. I would, as a funder, love to see that the folks who we're considering providing funding to have done a health and equity impact assessment to show us that the work that they do is equitable and it also has no negative impacts, health impacts. This is kind of what the front page looks like. It just kind of goes through what some of those steps are. It's very, very simple being able to discuss why the program or policy is being reviewed and is proposed, who's proposing that we take a look at this. And again, it's not something that we're looking at and we're going to tell you. We're looking at this together. We're having this conversation together. It is also explaining the context of the policy, program, or process. What is this? What does it mean? What does it do? What was it designed to do? So that the folks who are reviewing have a very good idea of what the history of the program is, what the background is, and what they were designed to do in the first place. And then determining the impact and for internal and external partners is very important to understand and take a look in a sort of a 360 manner. Who will be affected by this? Who is it for? Who benefits from it? But at the same time, who's not benefiting from it? Who's not included and needs to be? And then we identify some of the potential outcomes, and then we, throughout the last 2 steps are where the team makes a set of recommendations with the program manager or whoever it is, the director that is proposing that we take a look at this. We make a set of recommendations for them to take away and apply later. So right now, the pillar work groups are, I believe this is where we are in terms of finishing some of the health and equity impact assessments. Our plan is to, once we have a good mass of 8 to 10 completed, put them into a report that we could distribute so you can see how the process works and then understand what types of recommendations we're able to make after we do that very short process. So the Neighborhood and Built Environment group of the interdepartmental equity team is getting ready to take a look at the urban forestry program and do the assessment and understand what we should make in terms of recommendations to improve those outcomes. Economic mobility and stability has completed taking a look at the minority, help me Lydia, minority business enterprise and the women in business enterprise process by which they apply for support for their businesses, looking at that whole application process. Also, the contract monitoring process. They also reviewed the Digital Equity Initiative. And they are working on, Lydia's group is busy. They are working on the Cleveland Land Bank policy review. And again, this involves taking in data, analyzing it, and then making some recommendations at the end of the day. Health and Public Health, which is headed up by Brett Grossell, has completed reviewing the lawnmower rebate program, which is part of the air quality program at Cleveland Department of Public Health. And that's where folks were encouraged to turn in their current lawnmowers or old lawnmowers to receive a new battery-operated mower, looking at who's participating in that, how can you make it easier for residents to be able to do that. Ultimately, it helps for us to have cleaner air and better energy. However, there could be some barriers for multiple people trying to participate in that. And then they've also reviewed the Lead Safe Living program. And then the group that I head up, which is Social and Community Supports, we are in process of reviewing the social support specialist programming that happens through our recreational centers. That's where we have trauma-informed care social workers housed at every rec center that provides direct services and referrals to residents. And so we've been working with that team to take a look at how it's going. It's going very well, but also thinking about usage of the program on West Side versus East Side, looking at who are they most engaging with. Right now it's youth, which is who they were stood up to engage with, but they are also having a lot of success with seniors, as well as adults on many different levels in terms of things like looking for jobs, looking for educational opportunities, not to mention the mental health resources, basic need resources, food, clothing, shelter, that type of thing. So we're helping them take a look, and we will have an assessment done for them here shortly. The Equity Advisory Group, just really quickly on our progress there. Again, we broke into 3 separate groups looking at our people-facing strategies, meaning people who work for the City of Cleveland, community-facing strategies, meaning our residents and people who work here, who play here, who visit our city, and then also our physical and infrastructure strategies, which a lot of it is what you're seeing here is the improvements that we've been making to our physical buildings in terms of equity and access. We did a little bit of visualization around the types of equity recommendations that these groups were able to make to see kind of where we are about now in terms of where you see the bar graphs. That means that's about the percentage of items on the recommendation list that have been checked off or that have been addressed. So there were a lot of recommendations across all 3 of those strategy areas around language access and equity, meaning City of Cleveland employees are looking for better ways to communicate with the various languages that are represented here in Cleveland. We were also working with community groups to have, better access, language access in terms of things like as simple as our website. Now you can click on our website and see the information that you need in almost any language that you're looking for. Language accessibility in terms of signage, and sometimes that doesn't mean having signs in multiple languages. Sometimes it means us adopting universal symbols that mean the same thing in every country on a sign so that people are having a little bit easier time. Sometimes it means if we have, right now our number, aside from English, our number 2 language is Spanish, right? And so when we talk about things like filling out a form, how easy would it be to have the translation of the form into Spanish on the same form, right? Again, taking out these steps, barriers that are holding people back from interfacing with our system and our procedures. People strategies, again, this is meaning our workers, folks who are employed here. A lot of work around training and development. I know you've all talked with HR and about the new processes that are coming there with Workday. That should take care of a lot of this, instituting in the last couple of years the use of Biz Library, but also encouraging directors and departments to provide training that is meaningful and development that is meaningful for helping to enhance the career and skill set of the workers that we have. Again, that speaks to retention, that speaks to equitable recruitment, things like that. Employee engagement was another area, and we feel like we've made about 50% of the recommendations that we made. And then that workforce advancement and compensation, again, every legacy workforce, anything that, good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
Anything that has been around for a long time, like the City of Cleveland, is going to have to at some point, and has been, really looking at advancement and compensation and making sure that we're doing this on a way that is equitable and not fragmented. The community strategies, again, there was a lot of work around language access and accessibility for residents. Community engagement and collaboration, again, how do we meet the people that we serve? How do they have access to us? How do they have access to services? Increasing those things. And then we also determined there was a lot of work in terms of community outreach that still needs to be done, that we can do better. And so the recommendations that that group made, as we're monitoring now, we're seeing things get checked off little by little. But those are the areas that Community Strategies is concerned with. And lastly, the physical structure strategies. I think we see a lot of progress there because this has been a season of remodeling, renewal, trying to recreate some things in terms of, we looked a lot at things like disability access, even very plain things like wayfinding improvements like signage in the garage, or the different painting projects that they have to let you know where you are in a building. I can't tell you how many times I've had people lost in the parking lot, can't find their cars, can't find where they're going. These types of things improve our physical accessibility, but also our engagement. Before we did this work, how many people got frustrated and went home and didn't finish what they needed to finish here, the business that they needed to finish with the city. So within that physical structure group, we look at strategies around accessibility and safety, facilities and wayfinding improvements, community and online engagement, sustainability infrastructure, and comprehensive accessibility and improvement. So just again, making sure that we are using the facilities that we have to our best ability, and that we refer to City Hall a lot as the people's house, and we have to make that a reality. That wraps up my slides. I do want to just give you a quick heads up about some of the things that we are working on in terms of being able to be nimble and responsive to emerging issues. You are all aware of the changes within Medicaid and SNAP and funding, and so our team is very focused on that. And to that end, you may recall that 2 years ago, the Mayor Bibb and County Executive Chris Ronayne signed on for Cleveland to be a fast-track city, which means a commitment to ending the HIV epidemic and ending new HIV infections by 2030. That group, which consists of medical providers, a group that came out of signing that declaration, is medical providers, pharmacists, social workers, people living with AIDS, representatives from the health department here at the City of Cleveland, as well as the Cuyahoga County Board of Health. We've turned our focus of that group to really trying to hone in on understanding the outcomes of Medicaid work requirements and how that might impact the folks in the City of Cleveland as well as in Cuyahoga County that rely on Medicaid for their HIV treatment and medications. Why we look at that particular population is because it's very vulnerable. Those medications aren't something you can just stop taking, and they are very expensive. And so when that infrastructure is threatened, which means, we have about 5,000 people, maybe a little bit over actually, that rely on Medicaid for that level of treatment. If that infrastructure is rocked, that means more people are going to have to rely on the last safety net, which is the Ryan White Fund, which provides treatment, medication, and that's run out of Cuyahoga County Board of Health. But all of these services are regional. That cannot sustain having 5,000 people. So to that end, we've been working to come up with recommendations and to think about what is it going to take if we suddenly have to start supporting in some way, whether it's through philanthropy, whether it's through compassionate care with in partnership with pharmaceutical companies. But we have to be ready for what is it going to look like if we have people who suddenly cannot access their health care. That was also exacerbated, of course, by the cuts in SNAP, the work requirements in SNAP. Right. Right, and so we're now looking at not just this microcosm of people by health issue, we're looking at the thread and fabric of this community potentially breaking apart. When someone loses food benefits, when someone loses health benefits, we have a much bigger problem on our hands. Yeah, also.
You know what? They're correlated.
Oh yeah,
They're
absolutely,
correlated.
absolutely.
People need food, their medication, and
yeah, and that stability, right? I mean, most of us can't imagine having a medical condition that depends on you being housed in a safe environment, on you having something like heat and electricity, right? These issues are very connected, so that Fast Track Cities group is focused on that. I wanted to make sure I shout out some of our participants whose impetus to move that forward, Gil Kudrin from ACT UP, as well as Julie Patterson from AIDS Funding Collaborative, but we have a host of people that meet every 2 weeks just to make sure that we understand what the numbers are, who are our folks that are dependent on this, and what do we stand to lose if we're not creating strategies to keep people enrolled in their Medicaid and able to get those benefits. To that end, Chris Ronane's office has also stood up a Medicaid task force, and he invited me to represent the Fast Track Cities group onto that, which I had the chance to sit at the table with your wife. She is a part of that task force, again, really looking at those crossroads between what these changes around SNAP and Medicaid are going to mean. And what I learned from that is that a good majority of people who are receiving these programs still qualify, but this is going to be a battle of paperwork. This is going to be a war of paperwork, meaning I believe it's for SNAP that the recipients are going to now have to reapply every 6 months. Right? So things like reapplying, things like being able to make sure that your contact information is up to date in these state systems so that you don't miss a message and suddenly get knocked off of your food benefit or knocked off of your Medicaid. But the vast majority of folks are still going to apply. That we just all need to be educated on how do we do that, right? From community health workers that provide services in the home, to our clinics, to our social service agencies, making sure that all of these people that do this work and have contact with residents are able to know what the changes are and how people can stay up to date, and then making sure that we have the way to resources to turn them to the right place to keep getting them, if they have to be updated, if they have to report that they meet the work requirement. Most of the people do meet the work requirement. One of the things, too, is that understanding what those work requirements are, and they're not drafted yet for Ohio. I believe they have until the end of this month to have those rules laid out, and so it's a little bit of a waiting game of as soon as we know what the new rules are, then we can start that education process. But there are a number of groups around town that are very focused on this. Also, the UH Medicaid Optimization Group. Again, this is all about making sure that people stay enrolled and get enrolled if they can while that window is open. So again,
Let me ask you this question.
yeah.
And we need this, and I was mentioning to the know that with the health department, what they do when you have your community meetings, they will come out there to talk with the residents there. So we need hubs also, the hubs with other key stakeholders, like in the libraries.
Yes.
As well as in the schools, so that director, so that we can you're able to touch people, and they have collaboratives also with Murtis Taylor, as well as with Martin DePore Center. How do we work with them to so that we can do prevention? Because with these cuts in Medicaid, the cuts with the SNAP program, also cuts with RTA, also cuts with libraries coming up, our residents need to know the way.
Sure, and there are a number of community hubs that are established. We recognized those partnerships back in COVID as we were able to stand up community health workers, stand up testing, stand up vaccination sites. We use those same channels, whether it's we're working with the ministers groups, whether we're working with the community health workers groups, we're working with libraries, we're working with schools. We have those connections in place and those relationships. It was really about, and again, these are the people that I'm seeing around these tables concerned with the Medicaid changes and the SNAP changes, and it's about really keeping those relationships together, keeping the lines of communication open, and then availing ourselves of this is what the health department can do, right? A lot of times what the health department becomes is a convener, or being able to connect this party to the people, right? And so it's about us being able to be nimble and being able to be up to date on what is happening. You can't sleep, you can't slack, right? You have to pay attention. I think the impetus for us all in our personal lives is to turn off the news and look away, because it's a lot. But we can't. We can't. We can't create a strategy to respond if we don't look at it, right? One other thing I wanted to just get to, you touched on it in terms of responding to changes in federal funding. Many of us who have federal funding, our Moms First program receives federal funding. Our Office of Mental Health and Addiction Recovery partners with some federal funds through the County Board of Health, as well as our HOPWA, which is Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, making sure that people who have an AIDS diagnosis have access to emergency housing assistance, as well as our CDBG dollars, which we use CDBG dollars from the Community Development Department in our HIV program to promote testing, education, preventing those new HIV infections. When we get changes, we might get the funding still, but now they suddenly have new conditions on the contracts. So we had a lot of presidential orders that rolled out in the beginning of last year that are affecting our federal funds, meaning are we able to use those funds without violating these presidential orders? If we comply with the presidential orders, are we violating our own municipal laws, right? And so that's something that Director Margolius and I, as well as the mayor, have been working really closely on to make sure that we're able to keep that federal funding without harming the people that we serve, but also without receiving some consequences from the federal government that now come along with dollars that have supported this programming for decades now.
Are you able to, I know, Shar could do it. Back funding from the state, I have to go down there, downstate, to lobby against it. Your side of the aisle, are you guys open to do that?
Of course, thank you, Chair. We, within our, whether it's our funding bodies or the issues that we work on, there are a lot of times we do go down to the state to testify on the importance of that funding for particular issues. We might be going with First Year Cleveland, we might be going, you know what I'm saying? But again, it is our job to educate our state legislators on how these decisions that are happening at the federal level impact real life people and our real life communities. And so I certainly stand with you in terms of anything that we can do to make sure that truthful information gets in front of our state legislators to help them understand, as they're making their own policy decisions and their own funding decisions, just exactly the impact that stands to happen, such as the changes in our Medicaid and SNAP programs.
Health, you know, health and safety are directly correlated. Are you guys visiting the like the districts, for example, the 2nd district or the 1st district, and you're there and you talk with the residents? There's like the 1st district might have a community meeting on the 2nd with the commanders.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. When we're invited, of course we go, and sometimes we are, but we also, of course, attend ward meetings for, you know, our various programs. We'll do tabling there or any community event, really, but also we engage those parties within our programs. We have within our Minority Health program coming up in April for Minority Health Month, a couple of events that are happening out in the community. I believe we're doing a health walk, Minority Health Walk over at Zelma George, and we're engaging public safety as well as fire to be there on premises so that they have access to educating residents, and we're all there with our health partners. We also make sure, like I think we've highlighted in the last couple of years, our Moms First program has a partnership with the fire department in terms of helping safe sleep for babies. where we use safe sleep kits, which include like a pack and play, which you can have a baby sleep safely alone in it, as well as some information and other tools that families can use. What our work with the fire department is we've purchased for them about 100 to start safe sleep kits, so that when they go on a call, say it's an elderly fall, but they also notice that there is a baby there that is sleeping on the couch or sleeping with mom or dad, doesn't have a crib, they can just call and the chief can run a safe sleep kit with a pack and play out to them. That's for folks who are not part of Moms First, who wouldn't have had this already, right? And again, this is just helping to saturate that service throughout and across all City of Cleveland services. Of course, fire should have a hand in promoting safe sleep for babies and promoting thriving infancy, and so that we can reduce this infant mortality rate, right? Of course, police should have a hand in that. And so we're trying to work together across the departments to really understand at what point they are connecting with folks, when are they interfacing, so that they can
There you go.
swoop us in and vice versa.
Right.
I'm
Don't-
talking with my hands a lot, I
Oh,
apologize.
that's okay, that's okay. Don't wait for them to invite you. Call them sometime and then visit them. So we can do prevention, because you wait on them, because they don't know what you know or what the doctor know, but
Yeah, we do, and we do try to provide just even updates and materials. We've also done training on safe sleep with the fire department. We've recorded that so that their new recruits can watch it. Understanding this is all about connecting the dots, you know, how we're all working toward the same goal. They may go about it a little differently than we do. And inevitably, as you work through City of Cleveland departments, if you were to mention something about Moms First, you're going to hear people go, I didn't know we had that. I didn't know we did that, right? Well,
Right.
we do, right? And so a lot of this is about raising the visibility of our programs, raising the visibility of our services, and making sure that people have access. So you're absolutely right, I agree.
because they don't really know. When we sit back and we discussed also with purchasing and procurement, because that's ongoing. Benefit minorities.
That is Office of Equal Opportunity more, but yeah, they're with Director Mitchell. But the City of Cleveland has a lot of policies in place in terms of who we do business with, who we purchase from, making sure that those opportunities are equitable. But those particular policies and procedures fall under Office of Equal Opportunity.
I gotta figure out how do we get guidelines that's there. Wife, they're in a meeting, Yvonne, they're in a meeting this morning about how to benefit people. But we started working on some years ago, like it's been thrown out the window. And I sit back and read your report earlier.
Chair, the best way that I can address that is you really have to dig a little deeper to understand what the presidential orders around DEI mean, what the state orders around DEI were and are, which mostly the state level, the things that came down apply to education in schools, especially colleges and universities, state colleges and universities. Many of those
I'm listening.
orders, many of those new policies, in my mind, don't affect us. At least they don't yet, because we're a municipality, right? The way that they can influence how we do things is when you see things like if we've been getting a federal grant for decades and suddenly we have a new condition in the contract that says you can't receive this money if you have any diversity, equity, inclusion, supportive policies, or you can't receive this money if you support gender inclusion, like those types of things, which is what's happening. So when I talk about barriers to us utilizing our federal funding, it's because we have some of those. In terms of the diversity, equity, inclusion ban, really read it because it's kind of toothless. But it's not. That's not a good translation of what that order is a ban. But we did not have that on, say, for instance, our Moms First contract with the federal government, which again, federal government isn't the only funding that we receive for Moms First. We receive county funding, we receive City of Cleveland funding, we receive First Year Cleveland funding, and we're very adept at moving those dollars around to where they need to be when we get cuts or ebbs and flows and other types of funding. We did not receive that, but in terms of what we're doing here, the questions that we get a lot are you going to change the name? Can you still say equity? Do you still have a job? Yes, we're still here. We're still doing this work. Equity is still a thing. Diversity is still a thing. You don't get to do anything in the city of Cleveland without diversity. It's not a thing. Our population and the people that we serve and who we are, even look around this table, right? This is a diverse city. You, no matter if you don't say it, if you whisper it quietly in the dark, it's still here, right? We're still a diverse city serving diverse people with a diverse government. So that doesn't worry me quite as much. I have not been ordered or asked to change the name Health Equity and Social Justice, although if you look at the list of terms that were, hot button terms or things that were decided that we can't have anymore, we're on there. Like my title, my job description is that stuff. So, but so far, I'm still sitting in front of you. And we're still going to keep doing this work because at the end of the day, equity impacts our health, our well-being, our very lives. And so at the charge of public health is to protect and preserve our health, our well-being, and our very lives. And so we're going to continue to do that until we cannot do it anymore. And as long as the folks at this table, the folks in the city of Cleveland want to have improved health, improved housing, improved well-being and daily lives, we're still going to be here doing that work.
That's important because I was wondering, you guys did a lot of work on it, and I said, oh, man.
Still there.
All right, good. So we need to keep out to you, he and I. Strategies, he and I trying to make City Hall and the other buildings in City Hall open to.
Absolutely.
He's gonna call you so we can put it. And yeah, you know about it, Director. So that's very, very important to us. And then I yield to you.
And I'll add that Councilman Harsh also put himself on the list for questions as well. Through the chair, Commissioner, thank you for being here. Your words were really inspiring at the end there, especially about our decision to keep standing with the modern civil rights struggle of our time. Just to build on the chair's point, the physical infrastructure is important to me, important for folks in wheelchairs, important for folks with strollers, but we're all on the same page. Let's figure out some solutions. In my neighborhood, around the corner from me is Merrick House, which has been a Moms First provider, a hub for quite a while. I love Merrick House, and they've been doing amazing work for generations. Could you just tell us a little more about what the Fed's been doing on the Moms First program? Like, is there reason for concern? Go ahead.
Sure, through the chair. Of course, Merrick House is one of our longtime partners. And just for the new folks, Moms First is a Healthy Start program, which is home visiting for pregnant moms and babies. We provide services to the fathers, to the families, anyone who has a hand in creating a home for and raising their child. And so the home visiting program starts the woman can enter the program at any point during the pregnancy. They receive their very own community health worker that makes home visits, also contacts throughout the week in between visits to make sure that they're okay, helps to make sure that they are able to receive their prenatal care, getting to and from appointments, whether we need to provide bus tickets or find some transportation in some way, providing supplemental food, connecting them with other resources, providing diapers, pack and plays, car seats, anything that they need, if it's help with clothing, that type of thing. And we stay with that family. The community health worker stays with that family through the pregnancy. Sometimes our community health workers are requested to be present at the birth, and then they keep that same worker until the baby's 18 months old. If the family still needs that level of support after the baby's 18 months old, we transition them to Bright Beginnings, which is a county-supported program, which does basically the same thing. But most of the time, people feel that they can graduate the program, and
Yeah,
typically,
the father's in there.
Of course.
When
Of
the baby's
course.
first born.
of course. And again, I think the important thing to note about our fatherhood services is that the mom and the dad don't need to be in relationship together for the dad to receive those services as well as mom to receive those parenting services. It's a lot of education, a lot of parenting education, a lot of health and wellness education. We do a lot of work around helping if through the pregnancy smoking is an issue, we help with that cessation. We help with education around breastfeeding and coaching to make sure that they have that opportunity as well. It's really to improve birth outcomes in the city of Cleveland. And so we have not had any huge issues until now with our federal funding. Our federal funding with Moms First, it's a 5-year grant. And so we're in we've been in this project with the federal government since like 1998. So it's many cycles of 5-year funds. And this year, so our grant year it's an April 1 start to March 31st. So it's not on the calendar year, not quite on the fiscal year, but that's what we get from HHS at the federal level. It comes through HRSA. And so we're in year 2 of our 5-year cycle. And so we started that year 2 on April 1, began our contracts. But if you recall, this April 1 government was shut down. And so they were, just before the shutdown, they were able to get us in alignment with the continuing resolution. They were able to give us part funding. So we got about 42% of the Moms First Healthy Start Award that started in April, and we contracted out based on that. Within that contract, we had no new presidential orders, no new compliance points. When we got the rest of the funding, as the next continuing resolution came out, we got another award letter. By the middle of September, we had our full funding for the year, which goes till March 31st. However, when we got the second 2 award letters, there were some new presidential orders on them around not being in violation of the order that he made against gender inclusivity. So basically saying that you can't recognize more than 2 genders if you receive this money. Within the Moms First program, this is a HRSA program, and Healthy Start, basically before that went into effect, they changed their database so that we no longer can report more than 2 genders. They changed our report format in terms of how we collect data and how we report data to comply. And so what I think that was is that HRSA itself was being in compliant with the presidential order, so that subgrantees of the program could not, not comply because they changed, right? However, you may be aware that several cities have sued the federal government to be able to accept their funds without complying with these orders, especially when they're considered to be discriminatory orders themselves. And so when we got those compliance orders, we immediately put them to the law department to be able to review, to decide if we're okay to accept them and spend the money and try to be in compliance, or if those orders are discriminatory. And so by complying with them, we are now on afoul of our own municipal laws. And so that is still being reviewed through the law department. So we have not created the contracts that would give our partner agencies the rest of those dollars on the federal grant just yet, while we're making sure that we aren't non-compliant on either side of this. So it's really the most that it's done so far is created a lag in us being able to amend our current HRSA contracts to add their full amount of dollars to it. So, and it is concerning.
Through the chair to the commissioner, thank you for explaining that. It's concerning, but I'm glad to hear that it's a 5-year rollout, so we have 3 more years before the worst of it could hit, it sounds like. You're shrugging. We'll see. Just a separate subject is thank you again for engaging on language access across the city. It's been an ongoing concern for many years, and the website's much better than it used to be, but there's always more work to do.
Right. Oh, of course.
Do you have any more projects, initiatives for the immigrant community that you've been working on?
I think if you go back to, through the chair, if you go back to the recommendations for the equity advisory group around language. Again, right now, most of us have access to the language line, which if we need an interpreter, but we're looking at something more intense for that, or something more like on-site interpretation, or also being able to understand how many staff that we have at City of Cleveland that speak more than one language, and then if we are able to utilize staff in different departments that have a different language skill, then how do we compensate them, right? And so to make sure that if we're moving in a direction where we want to be able to utilize the staff that we have and the language capacities that we have under our roof already, how do we do that in an equitable way as well? And then also, again, and just sort of making sure that we are being aware of the current climate and trying to provide care and concern, but also looking at how we do things. So right now, Moms First is a case in point. This is a home visiting program. And so for our immigrant population that utilizes this service, many do not want a government worker coming to their house, right? Are afraid to leave their home, right? And so we've had to get very creative in making sure that, and again, we've had people leave the jobs at some of our partner agencies because of this. We've had people refuse the service because of this, and sometimes it's not even the fact that their immigration status is in question, but maybe someone in their house or someone in their family, or just the general outright fear. And as you have all seen, it no longer matters what your immigration status is, you are still a target. And so we have to be very careful of that we're not only executing these programs on paper, that we're doing it person to person, face to face, and understanding what does it mean for you to come and access this service, and what do I need to do to help you get this service that is in real world time. So again, being nimble and being able to pivot.
Chair, thanks for your thoughtfulness. No, that's all for me.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Chair. To the Commissioner, through the Chair, I appreciate your time and walking us through this process. I just had a couple questions following up on the language line. I see here in the paperwork you handed to us that the contract for the language line was set to end in September of 2025. Has that been renewed?
Through the chair, I believe it's been renewed. At the time of this update was created, that was the last note that we had on it, but we still have it. So I think they were looking for whether or not they would engage with a different provider for that. But in any case, even if a transition to a new provider is to happen in the future or sometime this year, which I'm not 100% aware of, my understanding is that the language line will still be in place until a switch is made. And so as our last update that we had was that that contract was going to be ending in 2025, but my assumption is that it's been renewed, but I can certainly find out. But we still have language line access.
Okay, that's important, of course. Just another question regarding the reports. As I was overlooking the strategic plan, I see one of the components of it was that each year the interdepartmental equity team will produce an annual report, and that's provided and made available to the public. I wasn't able to find it online. Is that posted online?
Through the chair, not just yet. We will have, I don't know that we completed one for 2024. We've completed the data, so it'll be just about around publishing it. So if you're looking at the strategic plan and all of those indicators, like RTA ridership and average sale price of homes, up or down, right? We do have all of that loaded into a database that we can turn around into a report. And so when we get the sort of interruption that we had with our computer services for a few months there was kind of hit us quite hard. But when we create the 2025 report, we'll make sure that 2024 is published so you can see the through line.
Councilman, we, before we go into the mayor's transmittal, present to us, we will hearing on their. We do that every year, right, Doctor? So you will have that before the February, before the mayor introduce us.
Absolutely, no, I
That's a
understand.
good question. Strategic planning is very, very important.
Yeah, and to the commissioner, through the chair, I want to just reiterate, I think the work your team has been doing has been really great, and I think to get more buy-in from the public, making this data more available, so folks can keep track of it and understand that our city is working on this, and it's not just on the back shelf. Which, to your credit, we can see that work. So
Through the chair,
I
yes,
appreciate
that is the plan. Is so basically we're utilizing a database called Clear Impact, which most health departments have access to, and a lot of larger nonprofit initiatives use to demonstrate their progress. I previously worked for United Way, and globally, United Way uses Clear Impact to track. And so basically what it does is whatever it is you're tracking, whatever indicators you're tracking, it turns around a scorecard for you to show whether you are moving closer to your desired goal or you're getting farther away from it. And so we'll be able to show ultimately year after year of that readily available data. And again, with the data, those indicators that we chose, we did not want to kick this project off going, we need to get data. We have data. There is a ton of data in the city. Use what you have, right? And that's why we're looking at the data that tells us, are we getting closer to our desired goal or not? And so using what is already available and what we already have. Sure.
Chair, thank you for your time. That's it for me.
Councilmember Joe Jones. He said he wanted to be off.
That I'm interested in. First, you just tweaked my mind with the Clear Impact database. How does one assess that?
The Clear Impact database isn't public, but we are happy to share our scorecards with you, share the reports that we'll be able to generate out of that with you. We have access to it because the Ohio Department of Health gives gives local health departments access to that, but it is available for us to track our projects and processes.
So will Cleveland City Council have the opportunity to access this data?
You'll have access to the data by way of reports. Absolutely.
And just further, maybe on the sidebar, when you get a chance, want to really sit down and talk to you about it, because I don't want to take up too much time in the committee to understand the fundamentals of the Clear Impact database that you have.
And we can certainly,
And then
I'm
how
sorry.
to properly access that database.
through the chair, we can also share with you the data sources that we use for that data. Basically, it's like if we're using, for some health outcomes, we use EMS and hospital data. For some outcomes, we're using other available open data sources. What Clear Impact allows us to do is take all of the data points that we're tracking from here, 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 and putting it in one place so that we can have a clean report, right? But we can share where we get the data from, and we'll share the reports when they're ready.
And the ClearPact data is basically, just make sure I'm on the same point, a state-based database. Does that include all the state of Ohio? How does it work?
Through the
What is
chair.
it collecting?
Through the chair, no. It is basically Clear Impact is a database that allows the user to organize their own data. So if you are running a program and you want to every month put in your data points, how many people use this program, how many events did we have, how many people did we serve, all of those things. You want to track that yourself, you could use Clear Impact to do that. So it's a way that we're tracking all of the data points that we utilize that are mentioned in our strategic report. The data sources, where we get those data points from, may come from a number of different databases or openly sourced databases. Our Urban AI tracks a lot of this data, but Clear Impact allows us to organize it for the equity use.
I see. You just going back further on your slide about Mom's First program, I think, by the way, has improved, but I'm not sure where we are with neonatal care in the city of Cleveland. At one point, it was worse than the third world country. How have we improved?
Sure. Through the chair, again, things like infant mortality rates might ebb and flow at times, but we're nowhere near where we were when we had some that were in the 20s in terms of 20% of infant mortality deaths. We've had some swings up or down. This year, our infant mortality data tends to be staggered because it takes a while to process those numbers. But this year, the county numbers are out and the county numbers are lower. And so that tells us that we're going to be a little bit lower. I believe we're hovering somewhere. I think our highest in the last 2 years was for an infant mortality rate around 14.2. And I think we've come down at least a percentage point. If not, we're in the 12 point. But again, our 2025 data is not out yet, but it's coming. I can tell you that the county level did go down a bit.
Infant mortality rate, break that down when you guys come see us with your strategic. What I mean, is it in the Lee Harvard area? Is it in majority? 'Cause I care about the whole city, but I want to know where, so we could do the background history of it. Is
Through
it
the chair,
Glenville,
we can,
Fairfax?
all of our health sources, we look at in a geographic way, right? Looking at our wards, looking at our neighborhoods, we know where epicenters of certain things are, and that helps us to make decisions and understand where we need to put the resources, right? So we can
Got it.
absolutely.
Got it.
If you go to clevelandhealth.org and look at our most recent, we do an infant mortality overview probably about every 3 years, so we're due for another one, but it does give you a little map that shows you sort of where the areas of most concern are, for sure.
That'll help us out. I'm sorry, Councilman.
You know, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the distinguished lady. The reason I asked that question, and just to kind of like touch and answer your question, is that 44128, which is the Lee Harvard area, one of the zip codes. I'm really interested in that because when I first got into office, Mr. Chairman, in 2017, 2018, what we found was that this situation was massive, major. Never had I before, in being an American citizen in a major city, experienced third world situations happening in the city of Cleveland, in my neighborhood. So I would request, Mr. Chairman, to the director, I don't understand what those percentages and points or improvements or what that is, to have a little bit more deeper dive to figure out, have we fundamentally improved from 2017 to where we are right now? And we have seen national reports on how Black women have been mistreated in the medical facilities and industry throughout this nation, and how their health care has been diminished. And so for me sitting here at this table representing a 96% minority neighborhood, we're really concerned about, has that improved, one, and then two, how can we, through our local development corporation, establish some kind of working relationship with your department to really fundamentally deal with this issue that we see as a still ongoing situation. And nor have we been given any clear data or information from this administration or any other administration on where we are and have we actually improved in terms of our zip codes. So, Mr. Chairman, if we want to really fundamentally understand this particular situation, I think what you're saying here in terms of understanding how does it impact the city of Cleveland as a whole, I think would be important if we could break that down in terms of prenatal care and how our medical facilities supposed to be top-notch in this country is missing an African-American female population and continuing to do it year in and year out. So when we talk about equity, certainly that's not the case here.
Through the chair, to the councilman, absolutely, you're correct. While we are far and away not in the situation that we were in 2017, we still this is why we're still doing this work, right? While we are seeing those numbers come down a bit, it is coming down too slow for Black and brown populations. However, right now, the biggest concern, the leading cause of infant death, when we talk about infant mortality, we're talking about babies not reaching their first birthday. And so it is encouraging to see that the county overall in the last year has experienced a little bit of a downturn in that. That's encouraging. We need more. The leading cause is going to be from premature birth. So when we have low birth weight babies that aren't carried to full term, why does this happen among African American and other minority populations is because of, yes, the prenatal care, but also the basic needs, right? Of healthy home, enough food and nutrition, all of those things, access to care, getting to care. But also, as is demonstrated in the short film that our department helped to produce a couple of years ago, Toxic. When we talk about a toxic pregnancy, we're talking about toxic stress on the mother that results in poor outcomes for the baby. And so that stress can be anything from economic and financial stress. That can be anything from relational stress and human interactions to racism, to not being heard, to not experiencing the full extent of care that we have available to us. What we're doing is, one way that you all can get involved is in the last year, we've officially launched what's called the Civic. It is a Cleveland Infant Vitality Group that is headed up by our Moms First team that we meet all over the city, but we are working in conjunction with Lexington Bell Community Center. Our Moms First folks are involved with this. Community members are involved with this. The moms themselves and dads themselves are involved in this, and that group meets. We're back to quarterly meetings, but to get up and running, we're meeting every month, and we also have small groups. We have one whole group that only wants to focus on housing. We have one group that only wants to focus on safety, right? And so with those groups, we are creating grassroots response and getting real live grassroots recommendations from the group and the community to us, ultimately up to how we do this program, but also how we do this in the city. Another thing that we're looking at in terms of best practices and understanding how best we can support women and families in this community. I know our pals at First Year Cleveland, as well as us, have been taking a really close look at what's happening in Cincinnati, where they are making wonderful strides around Black infant mortality as well as Black maternal mortality. One of the projects that we look at there is, I encourage you to look it up, is called Cradle Cincinnati. And what they've done is they've created a set of standards by which they are asking medical providers, hospitals, neonatal clinics to comply to these standards to be able to be what they call mama certified. And it means it's about, I think, 10 or 12 indicators that say, if your hospital does this, we consider you to be providing equitable care to Black moms and babies, right? And so many of their hospital systems in the greater Cincinnati area have done all of the things to comply with that. And again, this is a charge led by Black women, led by a Black woman-led organization to say, you're doing things like making sure that your staff has bias training, making sure that your staff has up-to-date knowledge and training, making sure that you have equal representation for providers that look like us, right? So we're looking at how do we take some of those best practices that they've done, and now that it is one thing to provide services and direct care to mom and baby, right? But we also need to provide some services, education, standards for the persons providing that care, right? And so there's a lot of work still happening. There's more to do, Councilman Jones, and I am definitely going to be in contact to make sure that you're able to be abreast of that, but also involved.
Councilmember, can I ask just a quick question real quick?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
We're at 14% or 14.5 in the
I
city.
want to say, I think that's, we might have been it might have been around 13.9. I have to get the exact number for you of what it was last year.
As to,
I don't recall. I would have to get it for you.
the numbers are better.
They are making incredible strides in Cincinnati.
Not putting Cincinnati down. I think if we're at 14, I don't know where they're at. Incredible. You said incredible.
Sure.
Are they at 8, 9%?
I will look that up and get it to you.
No. Linville with the Harvard. Similar to same. So I don't know, is that because is in our DNA? I don't know. Because when you look at even, it's not compared to income level, you have someone making six figures, abject poverty, the rates are.
Chair, I understand the point you're making, and that's correct. That when we see the same birth outcomes happening for Black women, regardless of income, regardless of marital status, regardless of age of the mom, that does not make a difference. When we see those same things happening, like the example you gave to someone in Beechwood making six figures who has all the degrees versus someone in the inner city, yeah, thank you, Brett. My team just texted me that it was 13.6 in 2024 was our.
That is what?
I don't have it just yet. Give me a sec. But when we see those same outcomes happening, even though the demographics, the income, all of that is very different, that tells us it's systemic. It's not the women, it's the system. Right? That means that however we're experiencing the medical system as Black women is very, very different than how our white counterparts are experiencing the medical system, because you can see when you compare Black to white, even if it's lower education level, lower income level, white birth rates are still much better than Black birth rates. That's how you know it is the system and not the people and the recipient of the system.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Commissioner Willis, that's exactly what our assessment has been. We're less than, 200 feet away from another city, and it's totally a night and day difference. And so for us, what I would like to know more about this whole piece is, a comparison to where we were. How have we been successful from this particular period of time since 2018 up until now? What are the major barriers, or what are the issues preventing or blocking within the existing system of healthcare in the city of Cleveland our African American women being able to receive what all Americans ought to have a right to have. And it's just, to me, just a humanity issue that we shouldn't even be sitting here talking about at the table. We should have already kind of like, this should not be even a discussion here in this nation. Especially in particular our city and our ward. So I want to figure out where we are. One, two, who's offering and providing services from your department and maybe any other healthcare system or department. And then three, how do we begin the proposition to sit down and talk about how do we improve the condition and then bring the neighborhood as a whole into the active process of resolving the issue.
Director, focus on the Commissioner Willis' department, and that could be, you know where I'm going, right? It could be right in the scope when he narrates it to us. So, because he's writing things down, and that way he can answer some of the questions.
Well, I think that if we do it this way, then it gives me a better shot, and I'm appreciative of the commissioner and her wide knowledge base of multiple topics on this issue. So it'd be great to do those three things. So I'd love to set up that opportunity to sit down with you and then start putting the wheels in motion on that, one. And then two, also understanding a little bit more about this database and what it has to provide and what it has to offer. So I would love to sit down, and that would be a separate, because both of these issues are separate issues. It'd be a separate time where I can sit down and really fundamentally understand it. And then, Mr. Chairman, lastly, one of the issues that's really important to this city, and we spent a lot of time, the 118, 117, and 116 councils dealing with lead. And then we can go all the way back to the 90s when I was in elected public office, where we still had this major issue dealing with lead. The city of Cleveland has put a tremendous amount of money, and institutions and organizations and nonprofits have put money into the lead program. So what I would ask, Mr. Chairman, is to get caught up where we are with this particular lead program. Who are we contracted out in terms of services? Who's who? And then maybe on the side, really sitting down to get a real grasp of this, because all of the city is impacted by lead, and somehow some areas are focused on more than others. And my neighborhood has a situation where we need to really start fundamentally dealing with that. We don't want to be in a situation where all the funds and resources are used up, and we have not gotten what I would feel a fair share for the citizens of the First Ward.
The House. The next meeting is on lead, and we have community development will be here, as well as the health department, and then we'll move forward with that. And that's our next meeting. Is about lead and our issues and concerns dealing with lead. They'll tell us where we're at. Are we hitting our milestones? Whatever the case may be, and what resources are there. We have new people at the table, Director. What we need is information before they come to the table. He's not new, but he's new on the committee, so that way he can read to understand it. Right, you got me. To catch up, isn't that right, council member? So we can get that. Can you give it to us today, or you got it? Cool beans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and
All right, thank you.
look forward to meeting with you, Commissioner Willis.
Thank you.
Councilwoman House Jones.
Good morning, through the chair. To Commissioner, thank you so much for your very thorough presentation. I just had a question. One of the things I am very a person about the significant growth opportunities the city of Cleveland needs to communicate just across the board. And so I guess I would like to know how and in what formats all of this depth and breadth of information that you are sharing today. How is this communicated to the public?
Through the chair, thank you, Councilwoman. So right now, each of our programs creates annual reports that basically shows how many people we serve. Those are on our website. Each program, Moms First, HIV, all of those programs have their own page where you can get that information. We try to, whenever there is an update for the equity information, we make sure that we update that website information. We have not yet, but when we do the 2025 annual report, it is common practice to pretty much, if you are releasing a report like that, to do a press release so that everybody gets it in their inbox and is aware of it. But we're also hopeful. We've done several lunch and learn opportunities. When the new or equity portion of the website launched, the city invited us to do a lunch and learn for all City of Cleveland staff, which was also streamed, so that helps, but we're open and welcome to suggestions for other ways. We also like to come out to the ward meetings to give updates like this, and we try to just make sure that, number one, we're tracking our data and putting it in a digestible form to be able to share out, but we're definitely looking at new ways to make sure that we're providing these updates to not just the public, but internally here at City Hall for all City of Cleveland staff. And also we utilize our community groups quite a bit. As you'll recall, when we work with Racism as a Public Health Crisis Coalition, so when they're doing community updates, we make sure that we give an update at the same time on that format so that we're in front of residents as much as we can. One other thing that we do, I'm not sure if this team is aware of, is our project managers in each of our health areas, especially our minority health area, are available to go out and do presentations. That's a huge bulk of the work that we do, is whether we're doing presentations for community members at the rec centers or wherever we're called to another organization to update their staff. We do a lot of updating to medical providers in the community as well, to schools. We'll go to classrooms, but just making sure that people have updated health stats, understanding like what is the issue when what are we dealing with when we're dealing with high blood pressure in Cleveland? What are we dealing with when we're dealing with diabetes in Cleveland? To that end, I'm a huge proponent of using, I'm very, very proud of the epidemiological team at the Cleveland Department of Public Health and the health briefs that they've been putting out with great quality on our Cleveland Department of Health website. We just put 4 new ones out, 3 or 4, I'm blanking on the exact number, but at the behest of our minority health team, which we're talking about chronic issues a lot, we wanted just a one-pager front and back to be able to, when we go and talk to residents or when we're tabling, to be able to give them takeaway there in English and in Spanish. There's one on asthma, there's one on high blood pressure and hypertension, there's one on diabetes, just to make sure that these chronic health issues that we see, these numbers within Cleveland, are accessible and can go in people's hands. So those are available to you. You can just download them and print them. And we're also happy to come out and present to any groups at any time.
Thank you for that. Through the chair to the commissioner, one thing I'm going to say is, for the people that are recipients and beneficiaries of all the different programs, more likely than not, they not reading none of that stuff. And so this is where I'm saying, beyond, because your expertise is health and on things of that nature. And this is where the utilization of social media and its various forms, and just in the art of storytelling. Like, this is one of the highlights in the city of Cleveland from my perspective, right? And no one knows about it. Right, we have to be able to tell our story so that people can get a good feeling for the city of Cleveland. Because right now, that's not the case. And we have to do a lot of communicating with our people to let them know these are things that we are getting right. This is how we are fighting for people in a time where people believe that no one is fighting for them. No one is centering them. This is actually one of the areas that I believe the city of Cleveland is doing right. So we really have to come up with a much bolder, brighter messaging strategy to communicate to Clevelanders, we are fighting for you. We have your back in these ways, and this is how we can partner with you. This is my offering. I don't necessarily know how to do all of those things, but what I'm saying is whatever team, and these are the things as we are going into this new budget where there's again, an expectation that we are going to actually be investing real resources. And it is not enough to get beyond this thing of whoever is the one person that's supposed to be communications, it's just their responsibility. We have to find a way to make it all of our collective responsibilities to tell the good story of Cleveland, right? And I'm gonna even include it in myself, because child, Lord knows I have a lot of constructive criticism. But again, I think you also need to give honor and focus on people who are doing the work. You know what I'm saying? And so as I close my remarks for you, I honestly just wanna say thank you, Commissioner Wills, for you and each of your team members. I see you, I recognize you. I am thank you for the policy briefs, even for the Cleveland Commission on Black Women and Girls, being able to incorporate that. Now we actually have a spotlight monthly that they send out, those connecting points, right? Things that people don't realize and recognize. And again, for me, you know, in a time where I feel like far too many people in this building are not operating of a place of excellence, you and your team absolutely are too, in my eyes. And I know I am a very, very harsh critic, all right? So I'm just gonna say, no, for real. Like, you all are the things where, again, you're thorough. You can see the actual work and data, and hopefully other people will start to recognize that there are people in our city who who are vested, and it's not just in talk, it's in action. And that's the thing that I can actually say about you and your team. So kudos to you, congratulations, and I'm looking forward to this year. I'll be calling you soon with our policy team to really think about how we actually start beginning to incorporate the equity assessment tool for policy, for a policy body, Cleveland City Council. We need to be incorporated in that, and even giving us the good idea of giving that tool as an assessment for even those that we are investing dollars in, for them to start beginning to think about how they tell their story and how we are moving the guidelines. But so I just want to, again, thank you so much for your leadership, for your excellence in the city of Cleveland, and I hope that other departments, divisions can look and see what it looks like when you are operating from a place of excellence.
The chair, thank you, Councilwoman House, for those words. Again, the point is taken on making sure that we are utilizing all the communication available to us, and I completely forgot to talk about our social media. Any of our staff that's watching back at the health department probably does not want to hear me talk about social media anymore, based on how many times I've made them sit through social media training. We just had another one on Friday. But my feeling is that the health department doesn't have a lot of dollars for advertisement, and so what we do have is the ability to utilize Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have not broached TikTok yet, but give us time. But coming in, this has been the third year in a row that we've been able to connect to our social media analytics, and we're watching that growth. I require my programs, so the 4 health programs that we have to make a minimum of 1 post a week, and that we have a system that goes through whereby we're making sure that it is appropriate, that it is the right messaging, it's understandable, it's at the right reading level to encompass all accessibility levels here at City of Cleveland. I'll just share with you, thanks Brett for pointing me back to it in our conversation on our Facebook for the year for our 4 health programs, not even just the whole health department, 29,780 views of our posts. So that is engagement that we've not seen in these programs prior. We have similar numbers on Instagram. We had just over 22,000, almost 23,000 total views, and then our total impressions on X are a little bit lower, but I'm not worried about X, down to about 14,000. But that is certainly something that we're making sure that we keep abreast of in terms of it's free, but it's our touch point to the community and understanding what it takes to make a good post that's going to get good engagement, making sure that we're utilizing correct imagery, correct language, and a call to action within those posts and helping people understand, what do I do next? I've seen this post, it caught my eye, I'm concerned with this, what do I do, right? And so that's something that is a part of public health, and this is what the public health department and all of public health should be doing, is engaging with community. We're trying to get better and better at that. But thank you, and point taken.
And my last little point, because you just mentioned it, through the chair to the commissioner, you mentioned, and see, this is a thing. It's just from a trip. When I talk about a level of excellence and how you're not just talking about, you can act about it, the one thing you just mentioned was training. The intentionality that your leadership has done to actually
Tell them.
No. I'm gonna be for real. See, this is the thing. It just didn't happen, right? There is a level of intentionality that you have been doing with your team to get them to perform. So if you can just get in our final closing, what does it look like in a year for you to train your team? I'm saying this because, again, I'm speaking to Cleveland City Council right now. I want them to hear what it looks like to have a team that is prepared to operate at a level of excellence. Or even the striving. Some days we'll fall short. But again, I was a beneficiary twofold, is because I went to your mom's first training. I was able to witness, kind of that retreat, things that you all had that was all day long, things of that nature. And then we have some other conversations. But if you can share that with us, that would be appreciated.
Thank you. Through the chair. So one thing that we had the benefit of is this was a brand new division back in 2021. We were standing up a new division within Cleveland Department of Public Health. And so bringing on new people, bringing programs underneath a different division into this division, bringing people all together. And in my background, every team that I've ever led, I feel I cannot train, I cannot work with folks that I don't know. And you don't get to know people if you don't have training, you don't have standards. And so one thing that I brought with me was to ensure that first thing off the bat, we get communications training, not how to stand up in front of a podium and talk to reporters, which is needed, but communication styles training, right? Everybody here has a different communication style. We also couple that with, we utilize right now Clifton Strengths to understand everybody's top 5 strengths. I want to know who I'm working with. Even though my team is small, there's only 13 of us, I need to know how best they communicate, how best they hear me, how best I can hear them, right? When I'm talking about their strengths, I want to know how am I setting up their work, their tasks, their projects to speak to what they do well versus trying to pigeonhole people into something that they don't do well and don't even like, right? This helps me when I understand this about my team, when my teammates understand this about each other, we function so much better. And it goes beyond that to repetition. We opened those types of trainings up to the whole health department, so now that's just part of our onboarding. Speaking of onboarding, of course, we get some standard onboarding that the city of Cleveland does that they have to do for employees, but I understood that it was, we were bringing in people, and if we didn't have a plan for how to accurately onboard them and train them, how many people are coming to work in a health equity division have ever worked in health equity before? What, right? So we have an expanded checklist for onboarding where we're getting training about social determinants of health, about health equity, and that is uniform. So everybody's starting off from the same block, right? I have folks that they're coming into public health. They may not have a public health educational background, but they're going to get it, right? We utilize anything that we're doing. It's important for our team, one, because we're so small, to know about one another so that we can cover for one another, but also that everyone is building skills. I don't care if you come here for a year or if you come here for 10 years. The point of having a job is that you learn and hone in on skills that are going to be useful to you at some point, whether that's building you for something bigger, better, and brighter, great, then that's my job, right, to help you get bigger, better, and brighter. And it helps us to function so much better. We also, anything that we're accomplishing, you guys have been here for the last couple of years when the city of Cleveland switched to Microsoft 365. That's great, but if you don't use it, what is the point? And so we did a lot of creating standards and trainings around how we use Microsoft 365. How do you use each of these applications? That was before IT rolled out their Microsoft 365 university. That would have been helpful for us 3 years ago, but thank you for doing it now. But we also have taken it upon ourselves to make sure, I'm not speaking ill of the health department or of anyone, but I think in a legacy government situation or any large organization, you have people who know how to do things and you have people who don't know how to do things. And sometimes those, the way that those instructions are translated doesn't happen. You walk into a job, you have nothing in writing, right? We wanted to change that, so we started to just write down standard operating procedures and make sure we're all on the same page. Yes, I ensure that we're all using email the same way. We're all using our calendars the same way, and we're sharing our calendars. Calendar is communication, right? If you don't put something on your calendar, how do I know what you're doing or where you are or that it happened? But again, this all seems like small potatoes, but somebody has to say it. Somebody has to say, this is how we do this here. And so when it comes to, if you go to anyone on my team, everyone knows how to put a purchase order in. Everyone knows how to do a travel form. Everyone knows how to do their timesheet. Like, these are standard operating procedures. And so from that is a basis for everyone, but then adding on the new things that we need to know. So of course we're every year we have some new subject that we're training on right now, and we also look a lot at what some people might consider soft skills training, but I don't. I consider, we have to have training around things like those real world things around, like not just communication, but understanding what bullying and microaggressions are, and understanding what is the standard we strive for here at work. How are we going to handle these things at work? I want everybody to have the same starting block. We just finished up a series, professional development series around looking at empathy and doing our work with empathy, hearkening back to our communication styles and understanding what our empathy styles are. Part of that was around also accountability. We've also just finished on Friday. Michelle walked us through a vision boarding exercise for all of our program and employees. Again, this is about bringing intention to the work that we do every day, so that even though our resources might be small, we can do as much as we can with what we have.
Thank you. And this is how you get to excellent results. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and thank you, Commissioner. Councilwoman Hudson, take us home.
Through the chair, thank you so much for your amazing presentation. As someone who grew up in the 80s and 90s, it can often feel like as a nation, when it comes to things like social justice and equity, we're backsliding. So I'm very, just deeply grateful for the work that you're doing. So I have a question about, you mentioned, the hubs, and that with the changes in SNAP and Medicaid benefits, that we're facing a war of paperwork. So at the hubs, are there people that will be able to directly help people fill out that paperwork?
Through the chair, yes. So right now, if you are not on Medicaid but you don't have insurance, when you go to the doctor, if you present, whether it's at a health clinic or at an emergency room, one of the first things they're going to do is get you connected to someone who can help sign you up for Medicaid and find out whether you qualify and things like that. Same with SNAP for our women and babies WIC as well. So all of those things that are benefits that have a process to go through, there's someone to walk you through that. And so right now, we're trying to make sure that everyone who does that, who has that as part of their job, whether it's the social worker in the hospital, and sometimes it's the docs themselves that say, hey, do you know about SNAP? And let me connect you to this person that can help you sign up, that type of thing. So right now it's about we're waiting with bated breath to find out how these new requirements are going to roll out in our community, what the new rules are, so that everyone who does that knows, but also everyone who doesn't do that but knows of the service and may be in a position to refer someone knows what the requirement is also. We're also going to have to look at things like those sort of like connected issues, like if someone is going to be impeded to their enrollment because their driver's license is expired and you don't have a valid ID now. Like, so looking at those connected issues and making sure that everybody in the social services and health field and education and everywhere know what the new rules are and what some of the barriers are to help the people that they come in contact every day with get over those humps.
And then you mentioned also the trauma-informed care specialists at the rec centers. Are those at every rec center across the city? And are those full-time positions? And are those people also available to help with things like SNAP and Medicaid applications?
Through the chair, yes, that is through our PIYO, so that's Prevention, Intervention, and Youth Opportunities. The director of the program is Eugenia Cash, and in my conversations with them through the Health and Equity Impact Assessment, my understanding is that that is one of the highest areas of need that they help with, is connecting folks to resources like that. And so, yeah, they have several social workers, but a lot of social work trained and all trained individuals to connect folks with resources out in the neighborhoods.
Amazing. Thank you.
It's one of my favorite programs.
That seems like we're concluding it. Commissioner, thank you for being here today and presenting on the RAPSI and so many other amazing work that you're doing today. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
With that, we conclude the...
On the Health and Human Service Committee, now adjourned.
That's right. And arts.
You did great.
That was